Hey friends, I'm glad you're here with me today. My name's Becky. I just wanted to go ahead and share with you a couple things that I am doing to prepare for the upcoming harvest season, even though it's January. I watched a video, I don't remember when it came out, from Homesteading Family, and they gave some amazing tips on what to do in the winter to prepare for the upcoming harvest season. And those tips have been so beneficial and helpful for me in my preserving journey. Especially last year when the pandemic hit, I had all my canning supplies ready to go back before the craziness started. And now, even now, it's very, very hard to find canning lids and jars, and the price has gone through the roof. And so if I were you, I would recommend go ahead and starting to find those things so you can price shop and compare and get ready, and so that you have the peace of mind when busy harvest season comes, you can just focus on that, because that is stressful enough. So just a little bit about me. This is my second year gardening. I had a pretty good sized garden last year, and I plan to ramp it up a little bit for next year. It's the same square footage as last year, but I have a little bit more knowledge under my belt, and so I want to see if I can push that yield up. You do not have to have a garden for these tips to be beneficial for you. I've been canning for probably 5 or 6 years now, and before I had my own garden, I was a part of a CSA, and I would go to the farmer's market, and I would go to U-Picks, and I would shop around to find local, organic or not organic produce that was picked at peak of ripeness, and I could preserve it in a way that I wanted it, and then a way that I knew what was in it. So regardless of if you have a garden or not, these are tips that you could take with you and try to apply them. And I'm probably going to miss a ton of things, so if I do, go ahead and let me know in the comments. I would love to start a conversation about different things that you do to prepare for harvest season. These are just a few things that I do, and they've helped me, and I'm sure there's many other things that you guys, ideas that you guys could bring to the table that we could communicate and start a really good dialogue. So let me flip the camera around, and I'm going to show you what I got. Here's an overview of what I have here. So I'm just going to start. One thing I would recommend stocking up on are freezer bags. I did a lot of freezing this year, and I normally don't buy freezer bags, but because or Ziploc bags, but because I had my first garden, I knew I would need that, so I went ahead and purchased gallon and quart size. These are freezer bags I used last year where I'm done with the produce, and I went ahead and washed them up, and I'll reuse them. Canning supplies. So I would recommend trying to find lids. Lids are so hard to find right now. I was lucky enough to find this size at my local grocery store for $3.29 for 12. And these ones here, these 5 packs were ones I bought last year. I bought 12. If you hear little footsteps, that's my little baby walking around. It's Gizmo. So I bought 12 packs of regular mouth size lids, and I bought 12 of the wide mouth. And this is my only wide mouth box I have left. There were some of these at my grocery store, but they were $6.25 for 12. That's 50 cents almost, give or take, per lid, and that's not affordable. That's not worth it to me. So if I can't find an affordable price on wide mouth lids, I'm going to can everything in regular mouth lids, because these were only a few cents more per lid than they were last year. Pectins. I bought all this and more last winter to prepare, and I didn't make as much jelly and jam as I usually do, so I still have a bunch, so I don't need to buy any more of that. Got a couple different options here. I like the low sugar pectin because I like to really be able to taste the fruit in my jams. This is my favorite, but I know there's a bunch of different ones out there. 2 really important ingredients here are sugar. I buy sugar in 50-pound bags, so then this is just the container I use on a daily basis. Vinegars. A lot of water bath canning recipes require apple cider vinegar or just regular distilled vinegar. So I have multiple gallons of these. These are just 2 I pulled out. Another thing is lemon juice. When I can my tomatoes, I don't like using the citric acid. It had an off flavor the time I did that, so I'm going back to exclusively canning my tomatoes with lemon juice. A lot of recipes recommend salt. Not that you have to put it in canning goods typically. It's not what preserves the food, but it adds flavor, and you go through a lot if you can a lot. So I buy my salt in bulk, 5-pound bags at a time, and it needs to be non-iodized. Iodized salt you can't can with, so it can be pickling salt. This is pink Himalayan salt, or kosher salt, anything like that. So that kind of goes over the ingredients, but now let's talk about some equipment. Jars have gone up a ton in price as well as the lids. I used to be able to buy a pack of 12 quart jars for approximately about $12.99, and now they are about $17.99 in my local grocery store if you can find them. And then the pints used to be about $8.99, and now they are $13.99, which is a lot. And so what I do is I like to buy my jars secondhand. So right now what you can be doing in the winter is, you know, if you find them new and you want to buy them, go ahead and buy them. But also check out your local Goodwill or thrift store. I like to go to the thrift store about once a week or so, give or take, and I will pick up canning jars anytime I see them. My favorite, actually, I have a box over here. I'm just using it as to hold up this canner. But I bought that box last week at Goodwill, and the best way to buy canning jars is when you can find the Goodwill and they put them all in a box and they price them, because typically all canning jars are 49 cents each at Goodwill. But what they'll do sometimes is throw a bunch in a box, and then that box had, I think, like 12 in there, and it was $3.99. So definitely just keep your eye out for used canning jars. The only thing you want to do when buying used canning jars is put your finger around the rim and make sure there's no chips. If there's chips, go ahead and leave it. And then the next thing I have would be to buy some canners. So I bought this canner used at Goodwill as well. You can typically find them there at Goodwill. I also bought this dehydrator. A dehydrator is really great to have. Last year was my first year having a dehydrator. I bought this Excalibur dehydrator on Facebook Marketplace. These dehydrators are so expensive. I would not pay full price for it, but I found it for a relatively good deal on Facebook Marketplace. I want to get another one though, because this is only a 5-tray dehydrator, and I definitely could use a second food dehydrator. And then I did purchase new. I'm kind of leery about buying a used pressure canner just because of the making sure everything works properly. But I bought this Presto pressure canner, and I've used it a couple times. This is my first year pressure canning, and it has been really awesome. I still get a little bit nervous when I do it, but I'm really enjoying it. And then another thing that is super helpful when doing big batches of food processing are these roasters. This is a 22 quart roaster. I also bought this brand new in the box at Goodwill for $22. I have 2 of these, and I actually have 2 canners too. But when you are processing a lot of applesauce, tomato sauce, things like that, this is a game changer. Last year was the first time I had one of these, and it revolutionized the way I can tomatoes. I'm actually, since I have all this canning stuff and supplies out, I am going to go ahead and shoot a canning video. I have my freezers filled with tomatoes left from the summer. So I'm going to pull out my other one, and I'm going to process tomatoes in there and show you how it is a game changer. Instead of having to have like 5 or 6 pots on the stove, which is the way I did it before, I just used one of these really big roasters. And then last but not least, getting yourself a really good canning cookbook. My mom bought me this cookbook for my birthday like 6 years ago, and it is amazing. What I would recommend is, especially if you're new to canning, get yourself this canning cookbook now and start flipping through the cookbook and looking at recipes and seeing what you might want to make. There's some amazing recipes in this cookbook. Anything from pickles, this has pressure canning and water bath canning. I haven't done any of the pressure canning recipes out of here yet. I've only ever pressure canned chicken broth and potatoes. And so, but there's like baked bean recipes in here, there's soups, there's all sorts of recipes in here for pressure canning. And then there's anything from applesauce to pickles to relishes to peaches, ketchup, strawberry lemonade concentrate, barbecue sauce. I did a rhubarb barbecue sauce out of here last year, which I'm going to do again. So there's just a lot of recipes in here. And so if this is your first year canning or wanting to can, go buy yourself this cookbook, start reading through it. It will have more equipment, things you might need in here, recommendations, and then you can start looking up local farmers in your area right now. Localharvest.com is a website where I found a bunch of my local farms where I have purchased things in bulk from them at the peak of their ripeness. And so you can go ahead and start searching for those. If you find recipes in here for like strawberry lemonade and you want to find a local farmer that grows strawberries, you can type in there, you pick strawberries or whatever you're looking for. And so it's a good time to start doing that. Well, thanks for hanging out with me today and listening to what I had to say. If you want some real-time updates on my garden season this year, I've already started seeds. That's my grow light station back there. If I'm glowing, it is because I have kale and onions and all sorts of stuff. Even though it's January, I have a bunch of stuff already started. So if you want to kind of follow along my garden this year, you can head over to Acre Homestead on Instagram. I do quite a bit of real-time updates over there. Found this video entertaining or educational, or if you learned anything from it, go ahead and hit the like button. I would really appreciate that. If you want to stick around, go ahead and subscribe and you can see what else I have going on this year. I'm super excited about it, and thank you for hanging out with me.